The big question is, okay, so I can get the meeting, but I don't know what I'm supposed to talk about, or I don't know if my pitch is any good. So how do I put together a really good pitch? How do I put together a good deck? The companies where are the people that were in the Morgan Stanley Innovation Multicultural Innovation Lab previously? So I got Ian, I got Brian, I got AJ and and Sosa, and I'm mad because I blanked on your name immediately because what I was trying to do was I was sitting here merging the fact that the last time I saw you guys it was before you were married. I feel like it's been a while, so I apologize for that. But they all kind of went through this with me, and one of the things I'm always asking them to do is before you do your pitch, is you got to write the story, like literally sit down and write the story out. And in that process, you start to get really good about what's so special about me, what's so special about my business, what's so special about my team. Like, what is it that's so interesting? And then you take that and you give it to other people and you ask them to read it. And then you find out from them, like, what do you think? What does it tell you? You read that, now tell me what it says. And the feedback you get is fascinating because if you give it to someone who doesn't know you at all, then you get like the objective feedback, right? Like, I don't know what that is. I don't understand what you mean by this, and I don't understand what you do. That's great. That's really valuable, right? But if you give it to someone that you do know, and they come back to you and they say, this has nothing to do with who you are. All the great stuff I know about you, none of it comes out in this 1 or 2 or 3 page document. Well, that feedback is tremendously valuable because what they're telling you is that you are not presenting your best self. You're not giving whoever it is that you're going to be pitching this to, you're not giving them the essence of who you are and why this thing is so important. And so that kind of feedback allows you to craft the pitch in a way that is unique and authentic to who you are. So how many people in here are founders of a pre-seed or seed stage company? So you've either never raised any money, you've raised, call it less than $1 million. All right? So most of the people in this room. The things that caused me as an early stage investor to invest in you have very little to do with traction. They're going to blame you on traction when they tell you no. They're lying. That's not the issue. The issue is going to come down to probably some combination of 2 things, maybe a third. Team, for sure. Who are the people associated with this? And I shouldn't even say team. I will say founder and or team. So there are certainly founders, single founders, solo founders that run companies. That's not as much of an issue anymore either. The question becomes, is this the kind of person I want to be in business with? Do I believe this person has the ability and the authority, the command of the subject matter to build a fantastic, phenomenal company? That's 1. 2, market. So whatever it is you're talking about doing, this is why I say maybe there's a third. I don't care as much about the product in its current state. I'm much more concerned about, are you playing around in a space that is large? There's room for you to play and room for you to grow and to morph and to change, because that's going to happen. No way today you're going to be what you are 7, 8 years from now. And hopefully that's how long we're going to be in business anyway. So I got to place less value on the product in its current existence, and think about what neighborhood are we going to be house hunting in, right? Like, I'm going to this neighborhood, they got a lot of really nice houses, so I'll be happy with 4 or 5 of them. I just need to know that we are truly in a really good neighborhood, right? And so the third thing does kind of get into the product, but more so from the standpoint of, I really want to know from a product perspective, I want to know that you can build things. I want to know that you can build something that that it will resonate with others. So it doesn't have to be perfect, but it can't be garbage, right? Like, it's got to be some elements here that suggest that you actually know what you're doing. So you take all of that, you've written your story, you've gotten the feedback, you feel pretty good about it. Now it's time to put together the slides, right? And I don't want to, I thought about like, hey, I can just, give my typical startup pitch workshop. And I decided I definitely don't want to do that. Why? Number one, there are so many different VCs that have blogged, that have posted, that have done all kinds of things to tell you these are the slides that I want to see in a deck, in this order, all this, everyone has talked about it. There absolutely is no right way to do it that they can tell you. All they're telling you is that this is the way I like to see it, okay? But ultimately, it's got to be the way you like to do it that is going to be the best combination of slides. Now, there's some things you don't want to do, right? Like, you don't want to just like, my first slide is the competition slide. Okay, that makes no sense whatsoever, right? So there's some basic premise, basic things that you would want to do. But I think that by and large, if you just do a scan over the internet, you can find a lot of different ways of people developing the seed pitch deck or whatever. You pick the one that feels most comfortable for you and feels natural, and you work with that. What I will say is that as you are putting together those slides, every single slide should have a message. It should have a conclusion that you want the reader to draw. And whatever that conclusion is needs to line up with the story you're trying to tell. And it should not be a situation where I have this slide where I got like 3 different points I'm trying to make and I need you to remember all 3 points of it. That's going to be a disaster. Every slide, one specific point. One thing that continues to build the bricks to show that this is a foundation. It's going to get me, at the end of the day, I'm going to build this house that everyone's going to love and they all want to buy. That's it. That's all you're trying to do. So you want to keep this thing as simple as possible. You want to keep it short. You don't want to show up in a room and say, hey, I got 30 slides to walk you through. It's not going to take me long at all. Done. It's not happening. It's not going to go well. You also can't show up with 4. That's probably not going to go well either. So something that you can get through in a matter of 10 to 15 minutes, that's ideal. Can you do that in 8 slides? Great. Can you do that in 12? Even better. Don't go beyond that unless you know that you can deliver these fairly quickly without running through them. And the reason I say that is because you will show up in rooms, you'll show up in a meeting, and someone's going to be running late, someone's going to have to leave early, and they're going to constrain your time. And there are people that will do this just to mess with you. Wondering how do you do under pressure? How do you make the adjustments? But more importantly, of these 12 slides, what are the most critical slides? If you only had 5 minutes, which ones do I need to see? And so you need to mark them. And you need to practice that. You need to know that if I only had 4 or 5, which ones do I need to make sure I hit? And so that gets me to this other part, which is as you are developing your pitch deck, you have to understand the power of your own story. Like, what is it that drives the success of this company? And make sure that that stuff is presented at the beginning or early on. So this goes all the way back to the thing we were talking about going to the movie. It's like, I got to pick these things out. So as an example, if I'm doing an AI startup and I don't have any engineers that know anything about AI, guess what's not going to be one of the first slides? The team slide. You're not going to see that, right? Because I got to make sure that you bought into something else that allows for the fact that when we finally do get to the team slide, and the fact that I don't have any AI specialists on it is irrelevant. Now, I don't know how good of an idea that's going to be, but I'm just saying that's what you would have to do. That's the hurdle you have to get over. So if you have recruited this world-class team and you put them on page 14 of a 15-page deck, I actually question whether or not it's a world-class team. And if it truly is a world-class team, after I heard all this other stuff, now I'm questioning you as the person who's running the company. You don't even understand where the power of the business comes from. You don't understand what changes the value, what changes the trajectory of the company. Because if I got an all-star team, that is going to be the first thing that I put out there, especially if I'm running a seed stage company, because you're largely going to back the team more than anything else. So I'll give you a quick story. Worst pitch ever. Got $2 million in 4 hours. Guys come into the room. We had a brief introduction. They come in, they do their thing, they leave. I timed it. It was 12 minutes. They were in and out. So we're having a conversation afterwards. And somebody says, all right, let's just go around the room and get our initial thoughts. And here was the feedback. I have no idea what they're talking about and what they're doing, but I think we should give them $250,000. Agree. Like literally, these are quotes from the room. Agree. Absolutely, I think you're right. And they got all the way around the room, and I was like, what the hell just happened? It's like these guys just walked out of the room with all this money, and then it got back to the guy that brought them into the room, the partner that brought them into the room, and they said, yeah, so you got the green light to do the deal. And he was like, yeah, so let me get back to you guys on that. I'm a little uncomfortable. And everyone's like, what? I was like, what do you mean you're uncomfortable? You just brought them in here. They're getting money from Sequoia and Kleiner and all these other different places. Like, we need to get into the deal. And he's like, look, you guys don't even know what they do. And so somebody said, look, I don't know what it is. I played around with it on the iPad. I still don't know what it is. But it's a whole bunch of people with PhDs. They went to MIT and they went to Stanford. So they clearly are smart and they'll figure it out. So just give them the money. And that was the last words uttered in that meeting, right? And so I saw the partner afterwards, and I'm like, dude, like I've been fighting to get a deal done, $250,000 deal done for the last 3 weeks. I have been quizzed upside down for the last 3 weeks, trying to get $250K. You just got $250 in 30 seconds, and you're not taking it. And you know, he said, look, you know, I get it. Smart guys, all that kind of stuff. I understand that. He said, but this is my deal. And it was a 12-minute experience with the rest of the team, but this is going to be 7 or 8 year experience for me. And I have no idea if these are the right guys that I need to be involved with. So I can't do the deal until I have that level of comfort. And so couple takeaways from that story. Number one, it's true. Don't let anyone tell you differently. There are people that can walk into a room and they can walk out of the room with bags of money. That happens. It's true. What can you do about it? Nothing. There's nothing you can do about it. If it happens, great. That's good for you. And if it doesn't, that's fine. It means nothing to you. Second thing, that thing that is your superpower, whether it's the team, or the idea, or your solution, or your customer list, or your market insight, whatever that is, that's what you lead with. Because it will force everyone else to reorient themselves around dealing with that particular issue that they can't leave alone. And so these guys are doing this thing that I don't know what it is, but they're just super smart because they check all the boxes that allow me to say they're super smart, but whatever. But that's it. So we just got to do it. And I'm like, yeah, but this is a group that doesn't do anything just because someone walked into the room. We got process. We got diligence we got to do. We got all this other stuff. It takes us 2 weeks just to get to the point we can make the memo and blah, blah, blah. And they're like, look, these guys are leaving, and they're going to see Excel and Andreessen and et cetera for the rest of the afternoon. So we got to make a decision before they get to the car. Like, that's literally what just happened, right? And so, again, you're putting your best foot forward because once you do, you can cause people to change the rules for you. And I know that that's a very sensitive topic because we feel like we don't see the rules change in our favor very often. People see us coming and the rules change, like, sorry, this meeting's going to be 5 minutes, and then we got to go, right? But I've also seen it change in our favor in ways that would stun you. I've seen someone walk into a room, someone that I brought in a year prior. Hey, we're raising money, and it's a convertible note, $4 million cap. This is what we're doing, and it's targeting a market that we're very familiar with, and blah, 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 and everything else that you would expect to hear. And I was like, this is one we have to do. And my team says, yeah, I don't believe that's I don't think that's significant. We're not doing that. We would never do that. That's stupid. A year later, same person comes into the room with the same people, raising $10 million on some insane valuation, and sends one thing. So forget the deck, not sending a deck. I'm sending you one page. And that's our revenue performance since the last time I saw you. And I watched the most conservative VC that I know. He was looking at Excel. He zoomed in from 100% to 250%. He took his reading glasses, he threw them up on his forehead, and he looked at me and he said, are these annual? And I said, no, those are quarterly. And he flipped out. And he's like, I don't even know what they do. I still don't understand it. But clearly they're doing something right, so how do we get into the deal? And the next thing I know, I watched the team scramble to try to get $1 million into this deal, one that they saw the year before, that they could have owned a big chunk of. And now they're trying to beg their way into $1 million deal of a company run by an African-American man. So that idea of changing people's perspective, that's realistic. That can be done. It's not easy, but you have to lean into the things that you know, the things that you know make your company unique, the things that you know are going to determine the level of success that you think you're going to have. So hopefully that's helpful. I think that if I had to boil it down into 3 things, I'll leave you with, and then we'll take some questions very quickly. One, think about this as a founder. Think about your story, think about your company, think about the impact you're going to have. Think about it from the founder's perspective, especially if you're the CEO. Think about that when you're doing your pitch, when you're developing the pitch. Second thing is then think about it from the investor's perspective. What is it that this investor is going to want to hear from me that's going to cause them to actually want to lean in and hear more about what we're doing? And then the third thing is stop thinking. After you've done that, do not overthink this thing. Get to the point where you're super comfortable talking about how you're about to change the world, period, end of story. And separate yourself from the result. There are people that are going to tell you no for a variety of different reasons. Who cares? You're only looking for the people that are going to tell you yes. It may take you a while, but then all of a sudden it doesn't. And so this whole thing is about finding the tribe and finding the neighborhood and all the different ways that people will talk about it. But it really is about finding the people that are going to have resonance with what it is that you are trying to do. It may be hard. Your idea may not be that great, and you may find that out in this process. But ideally, there is some subset of people that exist in this world that really love what you're doing if you've got a great idea, and the great ideas and the people that love them will find each other no matter what. So that's it.